10 anime heroes who lost everything in one fight. Number 10, Mirio lost his quirk and friend against Overhaul, My Hero Academia. Overhaul was My Hero Academia's most horrifying villain for a good reason. His murder of Night Eye was one of the first significant hero deaths in the entire series and ushered in a darker era for the anime. Although Mirio got the upper hand against Overhaul, he would not go down quietly. One of his henchmen correctly anticipated Mirio's altruism and shot Eri, knowing that he'd take the bullet for her. It permanently destroyed his quirk, making it much more dangerous for him to engage the Yakuza in battle. Number 9, Luffy lost his will to fight against Akainu, One Piece. Despite Luffy's generally optimistic demeanor, Ace's death crushed him. Having been impaled through the chest by Akainu, this was the darkest moment in One Piece to date. Even after the heroes recovered at Amazon Lily, Luffy couldn't shake his sense of malaise and despair. At that point, he was willing to give up on his dreams to become Pirate King completely, especially since his crew had been scattered to different parts of the world. It took Jinbei's encouragement for him to realize that life was still worth living. Number 8, Naruto obsessed over his loss against Sasuke. The first battle at the Valley of the End proved the most significant moment in Naruto. The titular protagonist's inability to bring Sasuke home had major implications both for his personal psyche and the world at large. Not only did it demoralize Naruto, but many of the Konoha 11 were also seriously wounded as a result of their failed mission. Moreover, given that the Akatsuki began to hunt the hero more aggressively, he couldn't even stay within the Leaf's borders. Without his best friend or home to fall back on, Naruto's life became increasingly bleak. Number 7, Meliodas gave everything to stop Chandler, 7 Deadly Sins. As one of the most powerful demons in 7 Deadly Sins, Chandler overpowered the titular heroes with ease. Before he could finish them off, Meliodas offered the villain the only thing he wanted, the captain's compliance. By agreeing to ascend as the next Demon King, Meliodas abandoned his friends, country, and even Elizabeth. However, given that Meliodas had already lost his humanity from the battle against Melascula and over 3,000 years of reliving his partner's deaths, Meliodas' decision made sense. Regardless, he would have had more options with enough strength. Number 6, Spike gave up his life for revenge, Cowboy Bebop. Spike Spiegel was a fairly even-tempered hero throughout most of the Cowboy Bebop series. However, after reuniting with Julia and suffering through her death firsthand, he dedicated his life to revenge. Armed to the teeth, he invaded Vicious Compound and killed the villain himself. Though having the pleasure of watching his nemesis die, Spike's wounds were too serious to be addressed. His death left behind a loving crew who cared deeply for his well-being and even begged him not to abandon them. Number 5, Jonathan's last encounter with Dio was fatal, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Despite being decapitated, Dio remained determined to destroy the Joestar line. He sabotaged Jonathan's honeymoon and became the only JoJo's Bizarre Adventure villain to permanently kill the main protagonist. Dio's actions were particularly devastating given how much Jonathan lost. Jonathan's death turned Irina into a widow, nearly ended the family bloodline for good, and meant that Baron Zeppeli's sacrifice went largely in vain. To make matters worse, Dio stole Jonathan's body so that he could use it to wage war against his descendants. In the end, Jonathan's inability to finish his stepbrother off had intergenerational consequences. Number 4, Kirito lost to Suna in his fight with Heathcliff, Sword Art Online. After uncovering Heathcliff as the mastermind behind Sword Art Online's Aincrad, Kirito immediately dueled him. Still outclassed in every way, he would have been fatally wounded if not for Asuna's sacrifice. Although Asuna intended to save Kirito, he was so demoralized that he lost the will to fight. Heathcliff stabbed him again, technically killing him by all measurable accounts. However, since Kirito retaliated while the villain's guard was lowered, he put an end to the Aincrad experiment despite losing everything. Number 3, Mikasa chose humanity over Eren, Attack on Titan. The rumbling put Attack on Titan's cast in a difficult spot. Although it guaranteed parity safety, the heroes could not condone Eren's atrocities and eventually resolved to defy him. It was an especially difficult position for Mikasa, who was the only person capable of getting close to him. Despite the feelings she still held for her paramour, Mikasa sliced off his head and put an end to the worldwide extinction event. Considering that the rumbling survivors retaliated against parity many years later, Mikasa lost both her country and love interest on account of her sense of duty. Number 2. Tatsumi's attack on the Empire proved costly. Akane Ga Kill. As a member of Akane Ga Kill S Night Raid, Tatsumi had a vested interest in taking the Empire down. He watched friends sacrifice themselves to enable the organization's victory. Mine's death was particularly devastating since they had only recently confessed their feelings for one another. Although Tatsumi and Wave successfully defeated the Emperor, his collapsing robot threatened hundreds of innocent people. Tatsumi managed to stop him, although he exerted himself to death in the process. Moved by his sacrifice, his death lovingly caressed his body, freezing him so that they would be together forever. Number 1. Greed lost his old friends and identity to Bradley, Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. The homunculus of Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood were furious with Greed's behavior. He may not have been an active detriment to their plans at the time, but he refused to follow orders for the sake of his own interests. As a result, Bradley hunted Greed down, butchered his friends, and took him back to Father. The hero was forced through an excruciating ritual that robbed him of his former body and sense of identity. Although Greed eventually recovered his memories, he needed to pick up the pieces of the life he lost.